So I had a red 1987 Chevette that I bought in the ghetto off the side of the road for about 500 bucks. This was back in 97, 98, something like that. And I had it for a few years. I had it through my senior year of high school and into I didn't have it at art school, so it must have died sometime around during my senior year. But anyway, this car had a number of problems, and I tried fixing them as best as I could here and there. There was one point where I had to dismantle basically the entire steering column trying to fix something in there, and then I put it back together, and everything seemed fine. I was driving around with this girl named Tess, and she asked if I was certain that the car was fine, that I had put it together correctly. And I said, yeah, it's solid as a rock, see? And I hit the steering wheel, and the front panel of the steering wheel fell off into my lap. To the question at hand, however, the summer before my senior year of high school, I was working at a stage production, and I was off picking up lunch or whatever. I was on my way back, and my car died. Now, this is largely because I didn't really know how to take care of it, and I wasn't doing a good job of trying, if I'm honest. But my car died right on the side of the road. I couldn't figure out what was going on with it. I didn't really have time to mess with it, so I left. I left it there. I went down the street to the theater, and I continued my day. And that night, I called a tow truck to come and bring it to my house so I could try to fix it. And I stood out there waiting for that tow truck for like 2 hours, and they never showed up. I never heard from them. Nothing ever happened with it. And this was before cell phones were a big deal, so I didn't really have a way to like check on it or have them call me. But I just never heard back from them. I never saw them. Nothing ever happened. So, giving up finally, because I had to be at work the next morning, I took the car, I put it in neutral. I pushed it because there was a little bit of a hill and then there was a parking lot there. I pushed it into the parking lot. That parking lot belonged to a National Reserve place. I think Army National Reserve. I don't know what kind of place it was for the National Reserve because it wasn't really a base, but it kind of was described as a base. What I do know is that most of the time what happened was people would come there and they would check in. They would park their vehicle there, go off to whatever training they were supposed to do for 6 months or whatever, and then they'd come back, get their vehicle, and go home, and then be on call for whatever they were supposed to do next. So because of this, and because it was pre-9/11 and security checks were different at the time, my car sat there for a bit and didn't really draw any attention because they're used to cars just sitting there for about 6 months or so. I, on the other hand, had a lot of stuff going on. I was starting my senior year of school, and I had things going on with my family, and I had just a whole lot on my plate, and I forgot. I forgot to go pick it up for a while, and then eventually I just kind of forgot it existed, and just didn't remember that I had a car. About 7 months after it was left there, I get a call from the National Guard. And they're like, hey, this your car out here? And I was like, oh yeah, it is. And they were like, you plan on moving it? And I was like, yeah, I'll see what I can do. I'm going to have to like make some calls. I'm going to have to figure out how to get out of there because the tow truck didn't come for it and all this other stuff. But I'll see what I can do. And they said, okay, please do that. So about a week later, I get a call from them that they're going to resurface the parking lot. And I need to move my car. So I go and I push my car into the grass. They resurface the parking lot. Everything's fine. About a week later, they call me and tell me that they need to go ahead and mow the lawn, so I need to move my car out of the grass. So I push it back into the parking space that it was in and go about my day. And within a few days of that, I was able to finally make arrangements with my uncle, who had tracked down a secondhand motor that he was willing to put into it for free for me. And I went with him to go tow the car. He personally drove the truck, towed the car to his place, and then installed this refurbished engine. So then I had it again for part of that summer, that summer after senior year. And I was working as a delivery driver, as I said, at 2 different places. And so I was beating the crap out of that car. And again, hadn't really learned how to maintain the engine very well. Thankfully, I have now. But it died again. I was on a delivery. I was delivering to a place right there on the PA-Ohio line. My car died again. I recognized that the engine was probably blown because I'd experienced that before now. So I pushed it into the closest parking space I could find, which happened to be the back lot of a car dealership. I figured it'll be fine. I'll come back for it in a little bit. I won't take 7 months this time. So I get a ride from my friend Heasley. I go and I handle some stuff with the car and, my jobs and all this other stuff. I go sort all that stuff out. And then when I came back for the car, a couple days later, it was gone. Just gone. I couldn't find any trace of it. Couldn't figure out where it went. I had no idea what was going on with it. and I didn't see it again for a while. 11 years later, my friend EJ goes to this junkyard. Now, we all used this junkyard, but we would go to various parts of it, looking for different parts or whatever. And he went to the junkyard looking for some part for his Firebird, I think, and was digging around and stumbled across my Chevette. It was just sitting there, and he knew it was mine because of the general look of it and because of the giant Flying W Weezer logo sticker on the back of it. And, the ceiling that was torn up and replaced with a Kurt Cobain poster, that type of stuff. He recognized it. So he comes and he tells me, hey, I found your Chevette. I found your car. It's at this lot. Here's where it is in there. And so I went there, and I told the guy, I was like, I just want to look around a bit. He said, okay. So I wandered off. I went over. I found my car. I opened the glove box. I took out my dice that I'd left in there. And then I went back to check with him, and I said, hey, how much, if you towed a car here, from like a dealership or whatever. If you towed a car here that was called in from the police, how much does it cost to get that car back? And he told me, well, we charge a lot occupation fee of $11 a day. I paid $500 for that vehicle. I'm not about to pay whatever, a decade of $11 a day is. And so I said, all right, cool, good to know. He goes, why? Is there something you want to pick up? I said, nope. And I left. As far as I know, it's still there to this day. And I actually don't know what the legal aspect of that is. I don't know if I still own it or not. I presume not, because I've never had to pay, anything to... Well, excise fees aren't a thing in PA, but, you have to pay for registration once in a while. Obviously, I've never renewed the registration. So, who knows? I actually wouldn't mind getting it back if he'd be willing to cut me a deal on it, but I just don't see that happening at this point.